welcome. And well, it's a great attendance here. That many people at the last session of the day. Thank you. So, this is the agenda for today. And the session is, let's get that mailbox moving. So it's all about migrating from legacy Exchange, how we call the past versions, to Exchange 2013. And, well, first I will do an introduction of who I am. Then we will start covering Outlook Anywhere, the Mailbox replication service, and dig into that service and why it's so important for migrating from legacy to new. Then we will continue with public folders. That might be a painful one. We will cover it. The Edge Transport Server, also important, especially if you've got the device already in your network, or maybe there's a reason why you want to deploy it now with 2013. And then Exchange 2003 to 2013. There's still a lot of customers that are running 2003, and they want answers how to get from that old deprecated version to the new, the latest, and the greatest. So, who am I? I'm Kai. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm a UC architect on Exchange. Link is also a product that I cover, but mostly, I think 90% of my work is Exchange, and that's all around the globe. So, customers are based in the US, Europe, of course, where I'm located, but anywhere I can work. I'm a frequent speaker, major events, TechEd, MEC, I've spoken there before, and local events also. And then this week, I was planned to be only at the Ask the Experts, but now presenting 2 sessions of YAP. So, welcome all. So, since 2 months now, we can start migrating to 2013. Until 2 months ago, we weren't able to officially support it, migrate from previous versions of Exchange to 2013. So the product was released much earlier, but once it was released, nobody was able to install it in an environment where Exchange already existed. We always had to go with a greenfield installation and work from there. But now, since 2 months, we can migrate to Exchange 2013. But what can we migrate? So direct migration is possible for Exchange 2010, 2007, but not for 2003. That's why we also cover it at the end. Another important point is a lot of customers are still working with old clients. They still have Outlook 2003. Before you migrate to Exchange 2013, you have to get rid of those clients. There's no way you can connect Outlook 2003 to 2013. So be aware of that one. And one that isn't taught all the time is you can run Outlook 2007 or 2010 against 2013, but you do require an update. And that's quite a recent update in November 2012. And it's very important to check on that. If you don't have the update, it might work, but you will run into issues. You won't get a direct prompt that you're blocked, but you will see issues with your clients in connection to 2013. So I will show you a tip how to check on which versions are connected to your Exchange version you're currently running. But be aware of those updates and make sure your client deployment team is going to update those clients. So here a quick one on what's new in 2013. And I only cover what's relevant to migrating. There's too much to cover in this session of what is new in Exchange 2013. But we now have something back that we had in the old days. In 2003, we had a front-end Exchange and we had a back-end. Well, now, 2013 it looks a bit similar. We've got a front end, the client access server, and a back end. And it's the mailbox server. So you can compare it a bit, though in the past, the tasks for those roles were completely different, because clients were connecting to the back end directly, and now in 2013, the front end is really the front end to your client's connectivity. Another new thing is Outlook Anywhere. Many customers have deployed it, but there are also, at least in Europe, and I don't know how it's here in the US, but a lot of customers were reluctant of implementing Outlook Anywhere because they felt it wasn't secure enough to allow their clients, their users, to connect to Exchange from the outside. So they didn't deploy it until now. If you're going to migrate to 2013, you need to deploy Outlook Anywhere. Outlook Anywhere is the only way of connecting with your clients in 2013. So there's no direct MAPI or RPC over TCP. Your client connectivity is Outlook Anywhere now. And, well, public folders, system folders, that's a thing. We, especially the system folders, well, they are gone. And that's also the reason, or one of the reasons, why you can't connect with Outlook 2003 anymore, because all the versions of Outlook 2003 and older, they relied on those folders. We will go into detail later on, but it's already something I can give you right now. And well, Edge Transport Servers, what's new, 2007 had them, 2010 had them, 2013 doesn't have it. So that's new. So I already said we have to implement Outlook Anywhere. Well, that means quite something. We don't have direct MAPI, so the clients can't use RPC connections. It's all HTTP 443. They only use Outlook Anywhere internally and externally. So that's an important point, because in the past we only had external connections. We had one. If you look into the profile in Outlook, you see one connection point that you could define, and well, there wasn't a way of defining an internal and external point to connect to. Outlook clients now connect to the client access server. That's also new, because 2007 we had the client access server or client access role introduced. In that time frame, few protocols were connecting to Exchange client access role, and other clients were connecting direct to the mailbox role. In 2010, that changed quite a lot already, but there was still one connection left that was pointing direct to the mailbox role. Anybody? Public folders. Those nice bastards. They were still around. And well, that was legacy, so there wasn't much time put into that part. By the way, how many people are still using public folders? Yeah, that's universal everywhere. That many people. So it's maybe liked isn't the right word, because most customers don't like the public folders, but it's something we have to live with. So we have to work around that. So the clients connect now in 2013 directly to client access server and not to the mailbox server. The client access server proxies that incoming request to the mailbox server. So all your connections go to CAS and then go from there to the back end. It comes with benefits because it's not relying on a specific mailbox server anymore. It's stateless. Connectivity is free to go to any server, and from there it proxies to any backend server where your mailbox is. And if there is an old version, if your mailbox is still on Exchange 2010, for instance, by having this implementation of having a client access server that is doing proxying, it can proxy to the down-level server also. So that's a big change from the past, where there was always a redirection. So you came in at one, were redirected to the old one. Now, client connectivity, since it's RPC connectivity over HTTPS, and it's proxied to the backend. And for this to work in the most perfect manner, I would recommend to start using split DNS. Of course, you can do it with two separate zones, but with different namespaces, but implementing split DNS, so running your same domain internally as externally, makes your life easier. And I think last week or 2 weeks ago, Brian Day released a document on the Exchange team website where he explains into great detail why you would like to go that route and why you want to split DNS. Okay. So along with Outlook Anywhere, since we have Outlook Anywhere, or since we call it Outlook Anywhere, another service came with Exchange. Since 2007, we have AutoDiscover. AutoDiscover is the way for your clients to discover where to connect to, get all the settings, and especially now with 2013, where we connect with Outlook Anywhere on internal and external side, we've got multiple URLs, so those need to come over also. All this happens through AutoDiscover. And an important one is, there's two ways of getting your AutoDiscover to your clients. If your client is domain joined and connected to your domain, it will always use the service connection point, or SCP record. In the SCP record, it will find the URL to connect to your Exchange environment and get those details. But if your client is non-domain joined, or it's domain joined and not connected to the domain, then it will use the AutoDiscover record, SRV record, or AutoDiscover.domain name. In my example, it will be contoso.com, but I guess we not all work here at Contoso, so you will have your own AutoDiscover. But be aware that both of these need to be in your environment. And though you may say that most of your clients in your domain, or maybe all to your thoughts, are connected and domain joined, it might be that there is just a link client or another client on those machines that is not using your SCP record. So I always advise to also, in your internal environment, publish the AutoDiscover DNS record to point at your environment. That will help in resolving issues anytime. And even more important, people, please stop using self-signed certificates. Make your life easier. I come so often at customers, and 2 weeks ago I was at one customer and they had a self-signed certificate on the outside. The only thing they published was ActiveSync. And I was looking at them, staring for a few minutes. Are you serious? Are you using self-signed certificates for ActiveSync? And yeah, well, we saved some money by not buying the official certificate. And they had a few hundred clients, so it wasn't huge, but it means every phone that they had, and they had Windows Phone, required a root install. So they had to install the root certificate manually. So I started to calculate for them, well, how many ActiveSync phones you have? Well, there was about 300. Well, every phone takes about 50 minutes. Well, calculate that up. That's more expensive than a certificate of a few €100 or dollars. So please, go and spend a few dollars and get a proper certificate that saves you, and it's such a common cause for a lot of trouble. Go ahead, buy those certificates. So if you now start migrating to 2013, an advice, and also Brian Day wrote that, before you start migrating, start implementing Outlook Anywhere first. If you don't have it yet, do it. Do it now. And implement split DNS up front. By implementing it now, it's just a quick switch to switching to 2013. And I will show it in the demo. And if my demo doesn't work, I've got backups. So, by enabling Outlook Anywhere, it will simplify the network paths. Only 443 needs to be open to your server, so if you've got clients that are behind firewalls, it makes life easier. No direct RPC traffic anymore. Internal and external access is identical, so if you use split DNS, you can just publish the same name internally and externally, have different IPs resolved inside than outside, and your clients always connect to the same URL. Works great. And this last one, this was on the slide from Jaap, and I'm not 100% sure if it's true, so I want to verify with the guy here at the left up front. Do we need Outlook Anywhere to connect to the back end for public folders? Okay. So, yes, we do need Outlook Anywhere to connect to the public folders, the legacy public folders on our backend environment. So all in all, we do require Outlook Anywhere, so start deploying it now before you go and mess around with the new environment. And maybe by deploying Outlook Anywhere, you also fix some other issues in your environment. So let's start and look into Outlook Anywhere in the old environment. Of course, my laptop locked. So here on my demo machine, which is based in the Netherlands, so hope the demo gods are with us and internet connectivity as well. I've got an Exchange 2010 machine, and Exchange 2013, a Windows 7 client, and I've got one Edge server. So now in this session we will only, or this demo we only will use the 2010 server and the client. But if we start up Outlook, in this environment we already have Outlook configured for Outlook Anywhere, but not for all the time. It's just Outlook Anywhere on the outside, Outlook Anywhere inside. It's not used, it's still MAPI. So how can we check that? If we hold the Control key and click on the icon, you have Exchange Connectivity, Connection Status Monitor. Here you can see how your client is connected. If there is no proxy server, you almost know for sure that's direct connectivity, that's MAPI connectivity. So, I also told you, you need to know which client version is connecting to your Exchange servers, because you want to update those. There's a tool, and it's around for several years already, and that's the Exchange User Monitor. That one gives you insight of which clients are connecting to your Exchange server. So, here we've got it. If I'm switching between mails, and I look here, probably it's too small to see, but here the client version will show up. The client version here shows 14.6131.5002. That tells me, okay, it's fine, it's higher than the required version, so we're good to go. Another thing we will see here is the client IP address. The client IP address now shows the real IP address of the client. You'll see over the next few minutes that will change. So to switch over to full Outlook Anywhere connectivity, internal and externally, I'm going to change the setting of my profile. And do note that I'm doing it manually now, but you can force this using group policy, and as well as using a setting on your Exchange server. So you don't need to do this manually with all your clients. On the connection settings, we've got down here the opportunity to click to connect always using Outlook Anywhere. So always you first connect using HTTP and then connect to TCP. In practice, it will then, most of the time, always connect using Outlook Anywhere. So it will require Outlook to restart. So what we're going to do, we close it, make sure it's not open anymore. And forgive the lag of the machine, it just takes some time to start Outlook. Once it's started, you will notice that when we go to the connection status, that now suddenly a proxy service shows up. That means that we now are connected using Outlook Anywhere instead of direct MAPI connectivity. And if we look into the user monitor, we will still see the same IP that is connecting to your Exchange 2010 server. So by this, we deployed Outlook Anywhere in the current environment, the old environment. But well, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and start migrating to 2013. Well, the first step you're going to do is you're going to move your point of entrance for Outlook Anywhere to 2013. So in our environment, it's simple. Just change the DNS record and point it to the new server. So we bring up the server for 2013. Here we've got the DNS record. It's now pointing to number 2. Number 3 is the 2003 server. And well, to make sure our clients is understanding this, okay. It's music for the pause. Okay, so I cleaned up my client cache, and let's start Outlook again. Since DNS is updated, the client should connect to different servers. So now it should connect to 2013. And once it's connected, let's make sure the client sees. Correct IP, yes, there it is. So the client is connected. Connection status still shows the same. But now if we turn to Exchange 2010, oh bugger. So, okay, it does show up. I had this breakdown a few times on me. So, if you now look at the IP address, you don't see the client's own IP address anymore. But what you see is the IP address of your Exchange 2013 server. So your client is proxied by Exchange 2013 into your 2010 environment. This is the first change you make before you start migrating your mailboxes. All connectivity is already going to the client access server. Once you move your mailbox, your client is already pointing to the correct server, and it's only a matter of having the client access server understand, okay, the mailbox is moved. Now we can go along. So let's switch back to the presentation for now. Once again, this was my backup, so a few pictures, a bit larger to see what the user monitor shows. It shows the client version and the IP address. After that, we changed the settings. Well, we can go quickly about that. On fast networks, connect to We still see the same version, but we see a proxy server in our connection settings. Okay. Change the DNS, still the same, and now we see a different IP. So that's one of the ways to verify that connectivity is correct. So we set up Outlook Anywhere, and now we want to get that mailbox over to the new system. That's where Mailbox Replication Service comes into play. When we came to 2007, we had PowerShell introduced, and well, we had the move mailbox command. Move mailbox was actually looked like the same as we had in 2003, where we were able to move a mailbox, but it came with some challenges. It was offline, so the mailbox was not accessible by the user. And when we look back to 2003, that was mostly fine because the mailboxes weren't that large, and the downtime for the end user, even in those days, mail wasn't that important, so users could work without their email. 2007, we still had that issue, and end users started to dislike those migrations because every time the mailbox needed to be moved, and well, the users that are complaining are always those users with 20, 30 gigabytes of mail. So they were offline for a long time. Another issue was your dumpster wasn't migrated. And well, the environments where we don't back up our Exchange environment anymore are growing because we use our dumpster to recover email. That was another issue. If we moved to a new version, gone was the dumpster. So we couldn't recover anything. And I know users that are using the dumpster as an archive because, well, they knew it would stay in there for 30 days, 90 days. Well, you know how users are. They want to keep their mail as long as possible. And doing cross-forest move requires access to your Active Directory and to the mailbox server. So it was a challenge. And another challenge is your console, when doing the mailbox move, needed to stay open. So what happened with a lot of customers, and probably a few people here in the room, before they left the office on Friday, they started moving their mailboxes, closed or disconnected the terminal session where they had that move mailbox executed. A colleague logged in, disconnected, or threw away the session, or there was a session timeout on the server. And what happens then? Well, it needed to stay open. The move mailbox was stopped. And well, most of the customers, well, they thought, well, 300 mailboxes, that will take 3 days. Maybe Sunday evening it's finished. So let's look up at the server on Saturday. I go to the office, check on it, and then you find out, oh, my session isn't there anymore. Well, that was painful. With the introduction of 2010, this issue was resolved. The move mailbox command was deprecated, and we got a new command. It was a new move request. The new move request allowed us to move in the background. So we executed a command to move 200-300 mailboxes. But that happened all in the background. So once you executed it, you can close your connections. Exchange took care of it. But a much more liked feature, because your users liked it, is your mailbox is available during the move. And this is transferred to 2013 also. There's some changes in it, but these are the main things of the new move request. So your mailbox is available while you move all the data. So the users can continue working until the last bit where it just flips over to 2013. Much better user experience, especially with those 20, 30 gigabytes mailboxes. Another one is, while the data is moved over to the new mailbox, Exchange already starts indexing that data. So once the mailbox is over, users can start doing queries against the mailbox. It doesn't take another day before the mailbox is indexed. No, it's directly after the mailbox is over that it's indexed. Big benefit. And, well, since the mailbox replication service is a part of the client access server, it's running on every client access server. And, well, if you look into how this mailbox replication server works, you can understand that there's a big benefit. So it's running on all client access servers. And the process is like this. If you initiate a new move request, at that time, a message is put in a system mailbox. And it gets a status of queued. Next action would be that the mailbox replication service of any cache server in that site will pick up that message and see, okay, hey, this mailbox needs to be moved. At that time, it's going to take a snapshot of the mailbox. That snapshot, and this is an important one, is valid for 30 days. So be aware of that. And later on, we come into more challenges for those 30 days. Because that means 30 days is the maximum amount of time you have to move over that mailbox. So the snapshot is taken, and the MRS will pick up the mailbox and start moving over data. So depending on your settings, at some point it will reach the 95%. And depending on how you want it to migrate, it will say, okay, I'm pausing now, because you supplied the suspend when ready to complete command. Or it will continue. And at 95%, it will change the status from in progress to completion in progress. At that time, your client will be disconnected, and the last changes since that snapshot was taken are moved over. And finally, the mailbox is finished. Mailbox is opened on the new server. Your client gets a pop-up. The administrator made a change requiring you to restart Outlook. Then there is another command, the suspend when ready to complete. It will just pause the move request at 95%. What is the benefit of this? Is that you can say over a period of 1 week or 2 weeks, you start moving all the data over to your new server. And when you're in that weekend, the next weekend, you decide, okay, now we're going to flip the switch. Now we're going to decide to move over all the users to the new server. What it then only is required to do is look at those snapshots and only get the delta since that snapshot was taken. So the amount of data that needs to be moved during that migration weekend is much less than normally it would be. But be aware of the 30 days that the snapshot is valid. If you are beyond the 30 days, you have to start over again. So, if you executed the suspend when ready to complete, then you can resume the move request using resume move request. And, well, in both cases, the old mailbox is soft deleted in the source database. So if you need to recover anything from that database, it's still there, it's just soft deleted, so it's not hard deleted. Another thing, we all have, well, probably not all of the people here, but a lot of people will probably use PSTs or have PSTs in their network. I guess so. There is a command, mailbox move import request. That import request uses the same technology to import that PST data into Exchange. So the technology is the same. We can also control this MRS service. And, well, this is not something you do for fun. And be very aware of what you're doing if you're controlling the MRS service. Because there's a file, and we will look into it in the next demo, what you can change. But by changing the values in that file, you're able to maybe overload your server, because it's just controlling how many moves will take place at the same time. But it might also be a reason why you want to control this file. So if you've got a very old 2007 server or 2010 that is a bit overloaded, maybe doing those moves with the settings that are default is too much for your old server. So that might be a reason why you would like to control this file and say, okay, I want to do less than by default. But the settings in this file, they've been tested by Microsoft, and they verified that this is the most optimal configuration of the file. So your situation might be different, but in most cases, the settings are more than perfect for your environment. At least it's good to know that you can change and control this. Next to the MRS is another service, and that's the MRS proxy. So we can move mailboxes internally, but if we want to move to Office 365, of course we don't. We want on-premise, isn't it? Or we want to move to a different forest because we acquired another company, then the Mailbox Replication Server proxy comes into play. And if you have a source organization where you have 2007, even though it doesn't have the MRS, you can just put in a 2010 server to take advantage of that MRS proxy service that is running in the other environment and to bring it over to your forest. So that's a good one to know too. So let's go to the demo of the, this one. So we start off with doing our move request. And I've got here my demo machine. And I prepared it by having my notepad. So at this moment, I'm very bad with typer. And I still don't understand why we can't use Control-V in command line. So I'm doing a new move request. And in this new move request, I added another command. Completed request age limit. Anybody that migrated 2010 already? Few people? Okay. So if you did a move request, what happened afterwards? Indeed. So when you do a move request, there is a report of what happened during the move request, and that was left over in Exchange. And, well, few customers of mine, they did their moves, and they left those reports there. And then after a while, they created new databases and wanted to move their mailboxes to those new databases. And they got a complaint, well, there's still a move request. And they started calling, Kai, there is a move request, but how can I get rid of it? So with the introduction of 2013, there is a maximum age defined for the move request. And after that amount of days, it is deleted. By default, it's 30 days. In this case, I changed it to 10 days. I wanted to get rid of those move requests. Just continue, and, well, after 10 days, I'm sure if somebody complains, well, it's too late. Oh, that was the wrong keyboard. So I started the move request, and this is all. Now it's taken over by the MRS service. So let's see how it goes along. Ah, it's that quick. My mailbox isn't that big. As you have seen, it's just 3 megabytes. But that quick is a move of a mailbox from 2010 to 2013. And let's see if we go to our client. This is the pop-up you get. So at 95%, we couldn't see it now, but I will show it in a while. You will get this pop-up where it says, okay, Microsoft Exchange administrator made a change, and now you need to close Outlook. So once we close and we connect again, let's see, yeah, it's gone. So now it will connect. And I'll show you something that changed, and which makes a big change to how your client acts on a failover in Exchange. If you look at your profile after migration, and we look here. I hope you can see it, but normally you would expect here to show up a server name. After you move to 2013, that server name is replaced by a GUID. That GUID is pointing to the location where your mailbox is. By not specifying a specific server anymore, you're not relying on the specific server also. So having a failover occurring to another server doesn't bring you a pop-up anymore of, oh, the administrator made a change, close Outlook, open up again. No. By using this GUID, we're now able to do a failover without a real issue for the end user. It's just a failover. Okay. And if we look at our connection status, we will also see here, instead of a server name, only the GUID to show up. So that's a change. So now I've got another user, and he isn't here today, but I guess he's fine with me logging in for him. And I will show you his mailbox is still on Exchange 2010. But I've pointed our OWA already to 2013. Another benefit of having all the access at the same point, I just can log in at 2013. Oh, I know what I just shouldn't type. So it's now rendering OWA again, but I will log in now to my 2010 mailbox using the login page of 2013. Client access server, proxy request to 2010. So that's a huge improvement. So this will run in the background, and in between I will start my mailbox move for Jaap. And this time we include suspend command with it. Okay, there it goes. So I got an error that it couldn't select a database. Another change when moving to 2010 and 2013, Exchange is now able of load balancing the move requests to a target database. I don't know the reason why it didn't the first time, but by not specifying a specific database, you have a somewhat even spread of all your users. It doesn't look at the source data size. So if you've are moving first a lot of small users and then an amount of large users, you might see some change in your database sizes, but using the spread that is created by Exchange helps in most cases a lot. So now we created the move, and instead of having it completed directly, we will see it's at 95% now. So by supplying the suspend when ready complete, Jaap can continue to work and continue to send mail. That will all work. And when we type the resume command, it will notice, okay, there are some new mails. Let's get those new mails and move those over to the new server, and then close the mailbox and get over to the new server. So if we go here, you will see we've got the move request. We can just still create new mails, though it's a bit slow here. Okay. So in the meantime, I will going to show you something, and that's this config file. This is the config file, and well, as you can see, it's XML based. And if you go all the way to the bottom, you'll find the MRS configuration. Let me check for sure. Yeah, that's the correct one. So also be aware, it's in there twice. The first one is just comment. So with default settings in here, don't change the comment because that won't make any change to the MRS service. Go all the way to the bottom and find there all the settings that are really defined. So what we can define is the maximum active moves per source database. So if we've got this old server that we don't want to overload, or maybe a few databases of the source server that are on old storage, we can alter this to, for instance, 4 moves at the same time. So we move down the amount of moves that are taking place at the same time. As well as for the server, for the source and for the target. So depending on the load of your machine, you might be able to just bring it down so the server isn't overloaded. But in most cases, you should leave it default and it should be fine for you. But just know the file is there, you're able to edit it, it's in the slides, so you can find it back afterwards. So let's see, there's my mail. So I'm going to send me a mail. I'm very short in my messages. So you'll see the mail has moved and it appeared in my Outlook client while we were moving the data. Well, this wasn't possible in 2003 and 2007, but it's possible in 2010 and 2013. And the mailbox is still there. So we're now going to resume move request for Jaap. And well, it will take a while. It will then pick up and start moving the last pieces of data. So I can show afterwards that it did work, but I'm not going to wait on that. So I'm going to click through this quickly. Public folders. The nightmare of most Exchange administrators, but they're there. They're there to stay for a while. But they're changed. So public folders in 2010 and earlier are there with their own database. So each public folder, each server had their own database containing those public folders. And those public folders contained all of them, the hierarchy. The hierarchy is how the structure of your database is built up. So which folders are in there, etc., etc. But the same database also contained all the public folders, or a subset, defined on how your replicas were set up. And then besides your public folders, you also had some system folders. The system folders were there for connectivity to Outlook 2003. They contained the offline address book, which is used in offline mode on your clients, so pretty important. But more important, the FreeBSD. All your FreeBSD information was published to a separate system folder called FreeBSD, schedule FreeBSD, and the clients relied on that system folder to gather that FreeBSD information of other users. So in 2013, we don't have those system folders anymore, so that's the reason why Outlook 2003 can't be used anymore. And of course, it's blocked, but even then, without those system folders, you would be dead in the water. Public folders had their own replication technology, so messages that were put in a public folder in one server was replicated in their own manner to another server. And they were multi-master. So if you had two servers and two covering the same public folder, a user A in location A could publish a message in that public folder. At the same time, user B would publish a message on server B. That's a big difference. And client access was always directly to the Mailbox server in 2003, 2007, but also in 2010. So coming with the modern public folders, they don't have their own databases anymore. They're just now part of your Mailbox databases. They're now public folder mailboxes. It's a mailbox, and you can have multiple mailboxes containing the public folders, but they're now just part of your Mailbox database. Big advantage of that is that we don't have to rely on the replica system, the replication manner of old legacy public folders. But one of the issues that comes with it is that we have a single master solution. So there's only one location where you can access your public folder. And for many companies, that's fine. But I've covered quite some global companies where they had public folders for distribution of data. And if you're based in Singapore and here in New Orleans and you're using the same public folder, you don't want to connect from both sides to the same server because latency, etc., is a pain in that way. So you have to find a new solution to cover that. Maybe you're going to use SharePoint, maybe another solution, but there's no way to cover it with the new public folders anymore. You can't have the same folder active in both locations. You can have just one folder active in one location. Very important to know. System folders are gone, as I told. Clients are directly connecting to the client access server, not anymore to the Mailbox role. Another one is the hierarchy is stored in the primary hierarchy mailbox. That is the only writable copy of your hierarchy. So you can have multiple mailboxes all around the globe. So you can have Singapore's own set of public folders and New Orleans' own set of public folders. But you've got one hierarchy somewhere in the world. So making changes to your hierarchy will be always made in the same location. All the other public folders have a copy of the hierarchy, but it's a read-only copy. It's not a read-write copy. Be aware of that. So this means that your public folder deployment will be centralized. A public folder, a single public folder, needs to be in one location. You can split them into multiple mailboxes, and that way you can split up to, for instance, a different location, but you can't have a public folder in multiple locations active. There's one replica. That's a good thing, because we're gone for the sometimes terrible replication mechanism of public folders. But there is no coexistence with legacy public folders. So if we want to go from what we have to something new, that means we have to get rid of the old. We can't say, okay, well, we're moving now New Orleans, and next week we're going to move Singapore. No, that won't work. We have to decide, okay, now we're going to move public folders, and that means Singapore and New Orleans, and maybe Sydney and whichever city in the world. If you're global and you have that many public folders all around the world, that brings a lot of challenges. Because also think about the move command that is used for moving public folders is the same mechanism as we use for moving a mailbox. And I already told you, there are 30 days from the moment you start until you finish. And 30 days for one location is fine, but 30 days for a global environment can be a bit small. And of course, well, we don't have support for Outlook 2003, so it's a no-brainer. No, all the clients in 2007 can connect. So if we migrate public folders, since we can't have legacy and new go along, and legacy clients, or all clients that have mailbox in the old version, can't connect to public folders in the new version. It's another one. So public folders are cut over, and you first have to move all your mailboxes. First move the mailboxes over. When you're finished with your mailboxes, then go along with the public folders, because only then your clients will be able to connect to your public folders. First, when you start moving over, you copy the hierarchy. There are scripts. If you look at the help file, the Exchange help file, it lists specific scripts made by Microsoft. Please start using those scripts. Don't fiddle around with those. It will only break your environment. I haven't seen much luck of changing those scripts that are already available. It will copy the hierarchy, copy the statistics, and permissions to 2013. Then you create public folder mailboxes along the amount of data that you need to cover. So there's a maximum amount of data that you want to put in a mailbox. Say 25 gigs is about the max. For every 25 gigs, you create another mailbox. And maybe you want to lower that number and say, okay, I want a bit less in each mailbox. But calculate around that, because, well, if you've got 1.5 tera to move over, that means something. So once you have created those mailboxes, and you do that with the scripts that are supplied by Microsoft, then you can start the migration. And the migration is just the MRS service picking up a migration request where moving over the data from the old public folders, copying the data in the same manner, though in this time, it will always suspend when ready to complete. It will not directly move over to 2013. It will send over the data and then let you decide, okay, this is the right moment to lock down the old environment, which is a manual task. You lock down the old public folders for read-only access. So you have to decide during a weekend or at some point, we're locking down the old. Now we're copying the delta. And at that point, you start testing. You're not moving over all your users. Because we've seen from practice that public folders always have been in pain, and that's not less when moving over to 2013. Test, test, test. See if there are errors in your source folders. There can be corrupted items in there. There can be corrupted permissions. You have to test this and check up on that. So once you have locked down and you did the finalize, you can enable 1 or 2 users to see what the content is on a new public folder. Check it. Make sure that the numbers match to what it is in the old environment. And only when you're really certain that all the data is covered, then you flip it and say, okay, let's get rid of the old. There are scripts to get rid of the old public folders and the database. And then you move over to 2013. But really, I can't stress it enough, test, test, and test. Because this is going to be a pain. From all the parts of the whole migration, from previous versions to 2013, this is causing the most trouble all the time. So Jaap had planned a demo for public folders. Since I had to build my whole demo environment yesterday morning and today, I wasn't able to cover public folders. So I'm sorry for that. Jaap will do the session in Madrid. I hope his wife is getting better then. You will be able to watch that one online. So if you want to see that demo, go and check his session in Madrid. So the Edge Transport Server. Can I see hands how many people are using the Edge server currently? Okay, there are quite a few here in the room. I think Microsoft thought nobody used it anymore, but over the years I've seen multiple customers starting to use the Edge Transport Server just because security wanted them or as their own solution of filtering their email. But it was a good solution. It was a dedicated role. It was standalone, so you didn't need to join it to the domain. You were able to put it in DMZ. And it was there to cover your message hygiene. So putting on a filter like forefront protection for Exchange allows you to scan with multiple virus engines on viruses, scan for spam. It was a nice product to have in front of your Exchange server to protect against the bad. So in 2013, we don't have that role anymore. And rumors say that it might come back, but currently we don't have it. So customers are asking, well, what do we need to do with this? Well, we had it, or maybe because Exchange 2013 now have built-in limited anti-malware, we want it in front of our environment, because in the past we were able to install on our Exchange environment our anti-malware agents. That's not possible now. I haven't seen solutions yet that are RTM that plug in to Exchange 2013 to scan for viruses. They will come. I know there's a few in beta, but since the whole topology of accessing your database and scanning is different, we don't have the VS API anymore. All the supplies of anti-malware had to change. So due to that, I've seen customers say, okay, well, but if we have an old Edge transport server in front of our environment, we can at least do transport scanning in the way we were used to do that. So if you still have the license for FPE, there's nothing standing in your way to implement Edge, even if you didn't have Edge in the old days. So you can implement Edge now with 2013, and if you want Edge 2007 or 2010, that's up to you. But you can install it and connect it to 2013. So there is a way of enabling those old virus agents and scanning all your mail while running on 2013. But only mail in transit, so no database scanning. And if you still have your Edge server, you don't need to get rid of it. So how do we move our Edge server from 2003 to from 2007, 2010 to 2013? Just do nothing. That's it. The Edge server will be there. Edge synchronization is going on. So 2013 will recognize that and will continue. If you want to implement it in 2013 while you didn't have it yet, it's quite simple. It's the same procedure as we did in the past. Just create a new subscription file on your Edge, then import it on 2013 and start your Edge synchronization. Well, I can do a demo. It's not a sexy demo, so here are my pictures. New Edge subscription. It's creating a file, place it in C. We copy it over to the hub transport server, and we say, okay, import that file. And that's done. If you then check on the mail, you'll see it will pass by the Edge transport and come into your environment. So it is fully possible, no issues at all. So go ahead and install the Edge server if you require technology like that. Go ahead, there's nothing limiting you from doing that. So Exchange 2003. How many are there? Still enough. Enough people are walking away because probably they don't care about that old deprecated product, but, well, that's fine. I hope we don't run into it too often, but, well, it's still out there. I have to do a migration next month, so. There is no direct transition from 2003 to 2013. But what are your options then? How do we get rid of that old version that is still having the issues of 76 gigabytes of database in the standard? You want to get rid of that. Well, that's possible. Option 1. Not the most sexy one. First, migrate to 2010. Tell your users, oh yeah, your mailbox will be offline for a while. And then, once you migrate to 2010, you can do the online move to 2013. But first, you have to get rid of 2003. So it's a double migration. And that can be a lot of pain. The second option is doing an inter-org migration. And you can approach that in two ways. You can say, okay, well, I want to migrate to a different organization. So I create a new forest for a resource forest. So you keep your AD and you move Exchange into a resource forest where your accounts connect to the environment in 2013. But you also can say, well, we gathered so much junk in our AD, and, well, we've got some leftovers from 2003, we've got some leftovers from maybe Cisco, go on, whatever you accumulated over the years. Maybe it's a great time to decide, okay, well, maybe we want to move over to a new AD. We want to get rid of the old one. And this is our reason why we would like to make that shift. So in that way, you can migrate to a new forest and then move over your servers, move over your applications, everything to your new domain. But be aware, that last one is very painful. I've done it twice, and it's not something you do for fun over a weekend or so. That's something you will do over a year, maybe 2 years. I've seen customers doing it already 5 years, and still not finished. But it is possible. So move to 2010 first. Well, you prepare the AD for 2010. You install Exchange 2010 Service 3, maybe with RU1 already. Because anybody knows the issue we have with SP3? So with SP3 there is a tiny issue. Not always showing up, but especially if you've got voicemail. If you want to delete it, soft delete it, just press the del key. It's not always able to delete that message. So you have to press shift delete, because you're getting an error message when you do the normal delete. So you need to hard delete. And, well, of Of course, we understand hard delete is great, but end users don't understand that. So maybe you want rollup 1. Then you configure your namespaces, and well, once you do it good. Use your split DNS, deploy Outlook Anywhere, do it all the way around. Then you move your resource to 2010 and brings over all the data and decom your old 2003 servers. Once you've done that, then you're able to go on with the normal path for going to 2013. You implement Outlook Anywhere again, Active Directory preparing for 2013, configure coexistence, just like we covered earlier. Nothing different. So, how is that migration going on then from one forest to the other? You create a new forest, and out of the box, with Exchange, only you can migrate mailboxes. So there's no way you can migrate your public folders from 2003 cross-forest to 2013. If you want things like that, if you want to have more stuff covered, want to have send on behalf permissions, mailbox permissions, etc., go and look into the space of third-party tooling. Quest, Migration Wiz, those are the people that are able to help you and do more than the built-in tooling. If you're moving just to a resource forest, that's fine. You move the mailboxes and you can go along. If you're moving to a new forest to replace the old, then you will probably use tools like ADMT or maybe Quest tooling or anything else, a lot of scripts and directory synchronization to move over those accounts to the new forest. So you move, your mailbox are in the resource forest, are in the source forest, sorry. If you start moving those mailboxes, first you create mail-enabled objects, mail-enabled users in the new target forest. You create those objects using the prepare move request script. The script can be found on every Exchange server running Exchange 2013 in the $scripts folder. Go to $scripts and you'll find it. Then, using that move request, you're migrating the data to the target forest. And the mailboxes in the source forest are changed. The user object is changed from being a mailbox user to a mail-enabled user. Just like the account was at first in the target forest. And at that point, the mail-enabled user in the target forest will be changed to a mailbox, a linked mailbox. So it's coupled to your account in the source domain. It is a disabled account in the target domain, and you're able to connect using your account from the source. And if you want to go along with more the full migration to the new forest, then you will use the tooling to get over the real users, merge them with the users that are already created as linked mailboxes. Tools like Active Directory Migration Tool can help you with that. Be aware that you don't copy over all your MS-EXCH properties. And by default, users must change their password in the new domain. Maybe that's not something you would like. Well, change that too if you're doing password migration or if you're going without. And, well, the linked master account needs to be set to null. And that's something you would expect it to happen by default, but in most cases, that is a task you need to be doing manually. Well, you can use PowerShell to automate that for you, but be aware of that because it can cause you issues later on the road. And, well, once you have migrated all that over, And this is a quick list, and it looks like you do it over a weekend, but mostly it's taking you a lot of time. Then the users start logging in with their new account. So, recap of this session. Exchange Server CU1 can now be used to migrate from 2010 to 2013. 2007 can transition in the same AD. 2003 requires a different forest or a two-step migration. If you're going to 2013, first set up Outlook Anywhere, prepare Exchange there, and then go to 2013. And well, if you've got public folders, you need to go along with those. Research, test, test, test. That's all I can tell. This was my session. Please fill out an evaluation. I hope I did a decent replacement for Jaap. And thank you. I will be available via this email address. I also will join the Ask the Experts this evening. So come up and ask me. I'm here for a while to answer any questions. And the gentleman in the front, he knows a lot about Exchange, so bug him, please, as well. Thank you. Any questions now? Okay. So the legacy URL is for 2007 still required. Yeah. So coming with CU2, you will be able to do single sign-on with that redirection to 2007. If you want to do it currently, until CU2 is available, put in front TMG, use single sign-on the rule there, and that will help you too. No, it's not gone. It's still there. It's just not available as a normal queue anymore. But TMG is still available as an appliance, for instance. So you can buy the appliance, you've got the license, and you're covered. And well, since it's below UAG, there will be support for a while.
You said 2007 specifically, but you mean both 2010 or 2007?
No, 2010 is direct proxy. 2007 is redirect to legacy. So that's, yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, with Exchange 2003, does it, if it still exists in the org, does it halt at the install?
Yes.
Hard stop?
Yeah. So the question is, will an old deprecated 2003 that is still in AD halt the installation of 2013? Yes, it will. There is a document on how to get rid of 2003. If you've got an old 2007, there's no document for that. But it will complain about it.
Yeah, another question is, a follow-up to that is that we use 2003 for into-org.
Mm-hmm.
So basically just to transition that to 2010, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to go to new version, then you have to get rid of 2003 and replace that functionality with 2007 or 2010. Because, yeah, there's no way of keeping both in the organization. That's, yeah, it's a pity. But maybe you can set up a forest just for that functionality with 2003. But I'm wondering what kind of cross-forest tooling are you using then that requires 2003?
No, it doesn't require it.
Okay.
Well, the other feature that's being used is secure address lists.
Okay. But secure, you mean segregation of address lists? Yeah. So since 2010 SP2, we've got address book policies, and to my opinion, that's a far better solution than the old address list segregation in 2003, because, well, address list segregation in 2003 relied on security permissions set on all kind of AD objects, and, well, going from there to address book policies, that's a huge challenge. Because, well, though there were guides on setting up address list segregation in 2003, I've seen so many customers that didn't follow the guide completely. So finding out what was changed and going to the new, that might be a big challenge. But yeah, I would definitely look at address book policies, because that's a superior solution to it. That's, any other questions? Sir?
I apologize if you covered this. I came in a little late.
No, that's fine.
2007, is there a direct upgrade from 2007 to 2013?
Yes. So if you want, the question is, can we migrate directly from 2007 to 2013? That's no problem at all. 2007 is fully supported. You can do the online mailbox move. All the steps can be done. In my demo, I only did 2010 to 2013, because it's a bit easier. You don't have to set up legacy, redirection, those kind of things. But look in the help file, there's great explanation on it. Chat with me in the Ask the Experts later on, or can come up to you after the session. It's no issue. Can. Yeah. So if you're going from 2007 to 2013, it's always using the MRS. When we had 2010, it was already doing online moves from 2007. If we had 2003, we couldn't do the online move. But since we get rid of 2003 now, we can go without issue. Yeah. Okay.
I have one more question.
Sure.
Around public folders. So once you move the mailboxes over to 2013, those clients can still access the legacy public folders through
Yeah.
2013. If changes are made on both sides, 2013, 2010, that's okay.
So
Can you still access them?
no. So if you go to 2013, you move your users over to the new environment, and you leave your public folders as long as you're still migrating mailboxes in the old environment. New users can connect to the old legacy public folders. So they can make changes. All the environment users can make changes. At some point, you're starting to move over the data to the new environment, and then you're going to close down the old. So it's one or the other. It's not both. So, no. It is really a pain, and I don't know how many people have global dispersed public folders, but if you've got multiple public folder sources, it's going to be a real pain.
Okay, that answers.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I've got two quick questions, and I'll let everybody go here. Are resource mailboxes still recommended by Microsoft? Because they were trying to push us out of public folders into resource mailboxes for part of it and SharePoint for the other.
Yeah.
So now that they've accepted public folders and they've regenerated them in a new light, are they still wanting us to go that direction, or we've just said, okay,
Sure.
we can do it either way?
You can go either way. So should we move to resource folder mailboxes instead of public folder mailboxes? Yeah, I would say if you're able to move to a resource mailbox, the chances that they stay for longer than public folders are much higher. Because, well, by going the new path, the whole reason of having public folders is about gone. Because, well, most of the customers didn't move to resource mailboxes because they needed multiple copies, multiple active copies. Now with a single active copy, well, why not go to the resource mailbox?
Most of mine was because they had their little area down there with public folders where it was existing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so with the new resource mailboxes and something I'm still waiting for, from Outlook to 2010, you've got the auto mapping of mailboxes, where if you get full access to a mailbox, you will automatically map that mailbox in your Outlook. So without any changes, the user will see the resource mailbox if he has full access. That is only triggered by a single parameter on that resource mailbox. I still don't know why they haven't deployed the functionality of setting that property if you don't give full access. Yeah, for instance, I've done it with customers where we did this just manually, and I'm still thinking if I find time to create a tool that does that. And of course, it's not supported by Microsoft if you do it, but it's not anything really rocket science to do. So go ahead, go into the AD object, change that.
Okay, the very last one, and this one's probably a dumb question, but the MRS service.
Yeah.
It exists in 2010, exists in 2013. You got the config file. Is it completely controlled by the one doing the move, or is there any reaching into the other one to help it sit in the file to where it needs to be modified on both sides in order to get your full 20 or get your full 5, whatever you've got set?
Yes and no. So the question is the source MRS service and the target MRS service acting together or not? And this, in normal migration within the same forest, it's only the target MRS service that is doing the migration. But if you're doing a cross-org migration, then it requires the MRS proxy on the other side, which is MRS service. So then there will be two sides of that migration. Yeah, if you enlarge the numbers on one side, you have to up the numbers on the other side too. Yeah? Okay, thank you.
The switch or suspend when graded complete, is that also useful in doing migration from on-prem to Office 365?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's...
The same 30-day...
Yeah, the same mechanism applies to online, to Exchange Online Office 365, yes. So...
And I thought you were going to bring it around, and I forgot to write it down. The 30 days, what happens after 31 days?
Gone.
To remove move request and start over?
Yeah, well, it's already gone because, well, by default it's 30 days, how long it's valid, and well, the snapshot is 30 days. So.
And it would do a soft delete on the new side or something?
Yeah, you have to delete the move request and then recreate it. It is a pain. Yeah. Yeah. So.
My company is running Exchange 2007 on a domain control,
Yeah.
which is not supported solution. And is there something in particular to watch out that I want to migrate this Exchange 2007 domain control?
So you're running 2007 on a domain controller, and you say, well, it's not supported. That's not complete. It is supported. It's not best practice. Because, well, Microsoft is selling a product called Small Business Server, which does exactly the same. So by that means, it is supported. But yeah, you can migrate just like setting up a new mailbox server. And if you want to stay on 2007, you can stay on 2007. But if you want to go to 2013, just introduce and follow the normal steps. Nothing is different. Just make sure you get rid of the old installation on the domain controller. Then you should be fine. If you had 2010 on the domain controller, then you would have some issues with security groups, because there are security groups that you need to clean up. But 2007 has different security groups, which you can get rid of after your installation. So in that case, go ahead and go to 2013.
Thank you very much.
Okay.